Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Today, we are beginning a brand new show, Q&A with Robert Monsieur Kpadeh. He's the leader of the One People Revolutionary Movement and also the publisher of the Independent Proof newspaper. Mr. Robert Monsieur Kpadeh is joining us from Monrovia, Liberia. Mr. Kpadeh, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you for having me, Dennis. It's really a great pleasure to be here and to have the opportunity to lay down my thoughts on the governance of our country. I can put a price on this. Let me through your live stream, greet fellow citizens across the diaspora, and look forward to having a very wonderful, insightful, and stimulating conversation with you. It's really a great pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate this time. We want to talk governance and national issues, and Mr. Robert Monsieur Kpadeh is going to give us the perspective from the opposition. I don't want to say opposition in the sense of opposition, but outside government, or he's out of the government. So he's giving another perspective that is not the government perspective, if I could say it that way. By way of introduction, Mr. Robert Monsieur Kpadeh is the leader, again, I said, the leader of the One People Revolutionary Movement. If you remember, he was part of the Joseph Boakai campaign as the National Secretary General of the National Movement for the support of Joseph Boakai, that's NAMBO, that was in 2017. He is the publisher of the Independent Parrot newspaper, I said, that's the Independent Parrot newspaper that is known for its radical advocacy editorial style. Again, he served as Secretary General and Vice President of the Publisher Association of Liberia, PAL, and will become the chairman of the Press Union of Liberia Club with oversight of the Edward Wilmot Blyden Forum. Once again, Mr. Kpadeh, he served as the Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Information, Culture, and Tourism with the government of former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. He holds an associate degree with honor in basic economics from the British School of Shipping and Management, that's in Accra, Ghana, a bachelor degrees in economics and public administration with honor from the United Methodist University, and a master's degree in peace, conflict, and international development from the prestigious University of Bradford City, United Kingdom. Once again, Mr. Monsieur Kpadeh, we say welcome to Focus on Liberia, and we are just excited to have you discussing national issues from the perspective of the opposition bloc. Let's begin first by talking a little bit about yourself. That's Monsieur Kpadeh as a leader of the One People Revolutionary Movement. What is this One People Revolutionary Movement? And besides that, what do you do? What is it about? And how is it doing right now?
Well, as the name denotes, revolution, One People Revolutionary Movement is a revolutionary institution which has the mission and goal to traverse our country and enlighten the minds of our people, enlighten the minds of our people from the perspective of political consciousness. We believe for our country to forge ahead, the citizens of our country must be politically educated. The citizens of our country must be politically enlightened, because when that is done, the people now will have the opportunity to understand governance and to understand their basic fundamental rights and to hold their government to task and to even elect leaders. So the OPRM motive and mission and goal is to go across the country, go to the inner recesses of the country, sit down with the chiefs, sit down with elders, sit down with youth groups, sit down with women groups, sit down with market women, pimping boys, and have a conversation about governance in our country. Because I said to you, Dennis, everything hinges on good governance. Our country is 173 years old, and we are peace and poor. All right, our people are peace and poor. Corruption continues to undermine the fall march of our country. This is because of bad leadership, misgovernance. So we are saying to our people, all right, we're in a democratic country, and that gives you the opportunity to select your leaders through the ballot box. You have to put emphasis on the quality of leaders that you elect to public office, because when you elect bad leaders, They will go to public office. They will not put emphasis on you. They will put emphasis on thievery and graft. They will put emphasis on amassing wealth and subjugating you to the doldrums of poverty. So let's begin to look at the people we put in public office. Who are they? Their qualification, their reputation. All right. Let's begin now as people collectively. All right. Even within our diversity, to begin to call our government to order. All right. Is the government putting emphasis on the people? Is our government addressing the structural gaps in the country in the governing process? Why our people continue to be poor? Why only the political class continue to be rich? So this is what we do at the OPRM. Go across the country, hold dialogue with our people, and build their consciousness and enlighten them. Because we believe fundamentally, if people are enlightened on the relevance of governance and how quintessential governance is, all right, and the relevance it holds, people will be very circumspect and meticulous on how they proceed. And then people will now be said and say, he no book, I will vote for him. He came my mind, he came my part, I will vote for him. They will be putting emphasis on themselves. So that's what we do essentially. We go across the country, politically enlighten our people, give them consciousness, okay, on the perspective of political governance, what they deserve. All right. And then if they are not given a quality of governance, they should stand up and hold the government to account because the government is not doing what it ought to do. So that's the role, that's the motive and the goal of the OPRM.
Thank you. What we've seen over the years is most of this, like we have some challenges when it comes to institutions, right? Sometimes these organizations are maybe a one-man show. Tell me a little bit about the organizational structure and the activities that you've been engaged in as One People Revolutionary Movement and your activities, especially outside of Monrovia.
Well, currently the OPRM is just 1 year old. We've done a lot of work. We've gone so fast. So we're stationed in Nema, we're stationed in Bong, we're stationed in Moserado County. Our headquarters is in Moserado County on the SD Cooper Road, in the SD Cooper compound. And what have we done? We've managed to build our page, and we managed to educate our people. On the very university campuses, UL, UMU, and AMU, we have branches there. All right. So we managed to go there and begin to hold conversation with students and student leaders. All right. How they should equip themselves and how they should proceed in terms of their advocacy. We went to Nima. We had a very great conversation with the people about governance, sitting with the townships and the women, saying to them the relevance of governance. So this is an institution that is very structured. We were just about to move in the Western cluster that constitutes 3 counties, Kpadeh, Bapolu, and Bomi. Then we got hit by the COVID-19 ravaging virus, so we could not go. All right, on the advice of health, medical advice from the government and the WHO. So we've been stationed for a while, and we're resuscitating our operation to begin to leap into the counties and to basically set our structure. So this is an institution comprising market women, comprising pen boys, comprising student groups, student leadership. We have vice chairs, we have secretary general, we have people there doing different things. I'm just the guy who formulated the idea. I'm the guy who just envisioned the formation of the OPRM, and we say, look, maybe there's a need to build more consciousness. It takes a conscious society, a society that is wide enlightened to make informed decisions, especially in terms of politics. If we make bad decisions, we get the repercussion, bad repercussion. And this is what we see here.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit more about the Parrot newspaper that you publish. You are publisher of it, and you could see some of the articles is very harsh, and most of the time it's anti-government rhetorics so much that people think that it's just an anti-government newspaper. Tell me a little bit about the Parrot newspaper and what you do.
Well, let me disagree. The Parrot do not trade in rhetoric. We trade in facts. We are a radical people, I agree, but we are radical on the basis of the fact. Parrot was established 23 years ago. I'm no more involved with the Parrot. I still own the Parrot. So the Parrot has a whole structure by itself. I'm into politics. I'm not into media. So you have Gauge Gipro. Gauge Gipro is a very experienced trained editor, very seasoned journalist with over 30 years of profound, credible, enriching background in journalism, well educated. You have Judas Jensen, who is the co-editor, and you have some very strong reporters. The Pirate has been doing its job. It was established to be a crusading newspaper, all right? Because when I established the Pirate, the style was just people reporting story, reporting the government did this, the government did this. I said, no, my style will be different. Having spent 20 years in radical journalism, I wanted to establish a paper that will go deep, that will investigate deep, that will ask hard questions, all right? That would be more, that would take the part of advocacy journalism, all right? Talking about rights, talking about human rights, talking about rule of law, talking about justice and stuff like that. And our style of writing will be critical, all right? So some people mistake critical analysis to be anti-analysis. No, we are not anti, all right? We just critical. And this is a tradition for almost 23 years. So since I left, it remains with the Pirate, and the editors there are walking in our footsteps. So I'm no longer basically involved with the Pirate. I'm editorially, but I own the Pirate. I salute the erudition of the editors there and the bravery of the editors there. They have been exposing a very, very wonderful story, and they've been standing up along the lines of ethics. And no one can point to any story that the Pirate published that is unethical. If that is the case, we challenge them to go to court. And we ask them to muster the courage to go to court. But that is not the case. They know what we do is about the truth. What the editors write is about the truth. But our analysis, all right, have been quite quality and driven by facts, you know, and everything we said have come to the light as true. So the Pirate is just a wonderful paper.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. It's a brand new show that we've started today. It's going to come your way every other Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. local time in Liberia. Our guest is the publisher of the Pirate newspaper and also the leader of the One People Revolutionary Movement, Mr. Robert Monsieur Kpadeh. His admirers call him the General. So sometimes you may hear that name, General, here tonight. So let's start with, I think the counter meet has just ended. The last game was today, right?
Oh, yes. I think the game is still on. I'm not too sure. I don't know whether it's over now. I'm not following. I've been busy from home today. So, but I know today's the final with Lofa and Maserati. I think pretty much it's going to be a clash of the Titans.
Yeah. What's your prediction?
Yeah, I support Lofa because I come from Lofa.
All right. All right. So what's your prediction?
Well, you know, soccer is very unpredictable. I try to stay away from predicting because, again, the first thing I like to clap on the fight. I've not seen, to be frank with you, I've been very basic. So I've not seen when it's entered the game, Lofa have had or Maserati. So I don't know the quality of the two teams. I don't know how sophisticated Lofa is or Maserati is. And so to be able to predict, I will be predicting in oblivion. We want to predict at least based on small facts that I have to say, well,
no, that's fair.
Yeah, Lofa is there technically Maserati, but that is not the case. I don't have that fast, and I don't want to double into just guess prediction.
All right.
But I wish Lofa win.
I
wish Lofa win.
Okay. And my county has been out ever since we put a very dismal performance at Sino County, and so this counter meeting is going on in the midst of COVID. Do you know of any precautions that are being taken or people going by the advice of the health experts?
Absolutely, I know not. I asked the question yesterday. To what extent is the Ministry of Health and Enfield involved with respect to ensuring that health protocols are in place to prevent transmission of this virus? We all know the virus is here, and we have to proceed very, very gingerly so that we avoid transmission of the virus. So we cannot be going to the stadium without health protocol in place. So I asked about that yesterday. I did not get a very signed and detailed answer, you know, but I will hope that they have measures in place so that people will adhere to this measure and be preventive of this virus. It's very important for us to do so. Yeah,
thank you. So the counter meet was established for national unity and cohesion, and also to tap young talents for the national team and also for first division team. to what extent do you know that objective has been achieved?
I can say with any, I can say definitively to what extent the objective has been achieved. Because you see, the first thing, the content meet is not structured. All right. If it has goals, like you just chronicle, all right, to unite the country, all right, and to tap young talents, then it should be structured on the county level. We cannot wait until the last minute and we start throwing 1 2 cents here for people to buy jerseys. So it's not structured, it's not organized. So anything that is not organized cannot yield any results. As to the county meet yielding the result of unity, the last county meet did not. It fell madly. I mean, we heard that the Grand Crew, the process was defrauded. I mean, there was no fair play, and we also the entire country was associated with the final and how Grand Crew and the Nima stuff ended in a complete debacle and a big shame. And it was reported that Mr. Weah had called the other team and tempered with them and then tried to influence the result. So it did not yield any result. It did not yield any result of unity because people, when it had to scatter, people were angry. So it did not yield that result. I'm not sure also it's yielding a result of tapping young talents, because if it's does, all right, then we will see the level of structure, organization it has, or it holds. But that is not the case. All right. Counties should take charge of the team. Counties should support the team. There should be well-structured budget for the team. All right. The national team should feed from the counties meet. I think it should go not just only just one time in a year. It should be a specific league where the counties move around like we have in England, like we have in America. So there's no structure. It's not organized. So if it's not organized, I'm sorry, it cannot yield the result. Now, if we organize it properly and do it properly, draw budget lines and give some level of latitude to the county to own the team properly and preside over the team, depoliticize, because most of the time it is politicized. Most of the time it is politicized. The president who is in power, his county will win, or those who are in power, they will preside over the county. As in my own situation with Lofa, young coachy is provide leadership and all other guys, but it's politicized. They are not reaching to us at all, and other people complain the same way. So it should be depoliticized. It should be about soccer and fair play. It should be organized. The goals should be clear, and we should have a whole structure in place, a whole organizational structure in place to manage the county meet and ensure that it yields results. As it is now, we cannot say to you after many years, what has the county meet achieved? We cannot say in any definite term, and we cannot point to anything evidential to say, well, county meet produced this, they produced this. These are players that came for the county meet. They went to the national team. They played with the major teams around here. By the way, soccer is in disarray. All right, and this is shocking because Mr. Weah came to stardom from soccer, and becoming president, everyone would think that soccer will rise, but soccer is in the dojo. All right, it's below.
Sometimes those things happen when the best player.
IE is a dead team. All right, Barrow is dead. You don't see no competitive league. Our team those days that competed and we saw the spirit of soccer. I mean, that spirit is no more. So it brings you the question, Mr. Weah, on soccer history. Why a football president, all right, is not doing good at soccer? Why soccer is not thriving? All right, it's not prosperous, it's not blossoming.
Under the icon,
it brings my imagination big time.
Yeah, you have a point there. Sometimes the best players don't even make good coaches. So maybe good players don't make they don't make soccer to thrive. Who knows? But let's go to some politics. The CPP, and I assume you're a member of the CPP because Unity Party, of which you are a member, is also a member of the CPP. You were in the campaign of Mr. Boakai during the 2017 election. So that's my assumption. Am I correct?
Well, the first thing, let me correct. I have not been a member of any political party. I've never joined any political party in my life. I associated with Boyka on the basis of the qualities that he brought to the national debate and to the presidential debate. I believe I know him. I know his history. I know his reputation. I know he had the equanimity. I know he got the temperament, the credibility, and the virtues to make a productive.
So it was not the Lufa connection. It was because of what you saw in him.
No, I'm not tribalist, and I don't trade and do tribalism. By the way, I come from Lufa and Basel. Then probably I would have supported Bromsky. No, it was about the quality. I look at people's record. I look at the quality. I look at the history. All right, Mr. Boyka is a progressive. I am a progressive. Mr. Boyka have a very solid public service record. He has served in the country for many years. No corruption record. All right. He brings experience.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah. So I thought you were well suited to unite the country. You know, because President Sani has said to us, she failed to unite the country. And so you needed somebody with that national appeal, somebody with that experience, somebody with that compassionate spirit, you know, friend of all, enemy to none, to unite the country. So he brought everything to the political debate. So I could trust him. It was based on that, I supported him. And because of that, I joined ranks with other progressive and independent minds, and that brought to birth the formation of the national movement to support Boyka. That was not a political party. We were independent things, and that's how that institution came to formation, to give our independent support to it. I've never been a member of any political party, but I do associate with Boyka, all right, because I believe in his record, I believe in his ability, his equanimity. Do you
still believe that he can become? Do you still believe him to contest 2023?
I think so. I believe. I want to believe, and I encourage him to do, because he has what it takes to make a good president. Our country, our leadership is. There have been no time where the need for a viable, credible leadership has been so urgent. All right, than this time. So I would crave his indulgence to consider, all right, contesting the presidency come 2023. I think he has what it takes. I think he's credible. I think he has the wherewithal to make a good president. He has experience. He has the education to make a good president.
Thank you. Let's look at the Liberty Party recently elected a new chairman on white ballot, Mr. Musa Hassan Bility. And that means we have a new chairman now, who's part of your CPP.
Okay.
His election has received mixed reactions from people in the country. What's your take? First, your reaction to the election of Mr. Bility.
Well, look, I say this much to you, and I want to respond to this in twofold. I understand you had him last night. I don't know what were his responses to all the claims and counterclaims brought forward against him, but I'll say this, and I will respond in twofold. One, I would like to say, we cannot covet what we repudiate. We cannot covet what we repudiate, meaning we cannot celebrate what we condemn. If we condemn something yesterday, today we should condemn if it's bad. In the same vein, to what extent do we know that Mr. Bility is guilty of all the charges leveled against him? I've been asking some critical questions. Has he been to court? Is there a court ruling as relates the crime? If so, then I don't think he's qualified to sit as chairman, because we can't be condemning the weird degeneracy and the weird debauchery and the weird criminality and then hail someone with a criminal record. Now, to Mr. Bility, if there is not a verdict, a court verdict that says you stole money, and then the FIFA has made this claim, and you don't believe in it, why don't you go to court to clear your name? Because you should go to court to clear your name. I try not to dabble into the claims and counterclaims and the rapes and the rents. Yeah. But I like to, I try to flash on what should be the fundamental argument. The fundamental argument should be, did the guy go to court? My understanding is that the ruling came from a FIFA committee, in their own system, and they found him guilty and have evidence. So, and based on that evidence, he was banned and fined 500,000. So, Mr. Benedict, if you think that they concocted all this allegation against you, can you go to court?
You're right. This is what he said.
Okay.
For the RIA saga that he was implicated, he went to court and he said he was clear. For the FIFA, this was brought against him, and so he appealed to the appeal board of the FIFA, and that is before them, and he's waiting to get a response.
In this case, the honor is on him and on the Liberty Party and the CPP by extension to bring pressure to bear on him, because I don't want to join the rest of the court to say, let's use a sledgehammer on him and decimate him because of what comes out. Since there is some sense of opportunity to go before the law, like he said, he asked for the appeal to be heard. He has to be heard. Within our jurisprudence and the area of civilized jurisprudence, a man is only found guilty when he's been heard, before a court of competent jurisdiction. I want to proceed in that way, and I like to challenge him and the Liberty Party to see reason, to ram out effort to clear his name, because you cannot sit in an institution, an opposition institution, all right, that is constantly criticizing the regime debauchery and the regime degeneracy and the regime misgovernance. But the man who presides over your party as chairman, is believed or said to have rotten character. All right, that's what I said. You can covet today what you repudiated yesterday. If we condemn criminality and corruption yesterday, we should condemn it today. But also, I want to be very careful and proceed very generally, not to cast expression on the man until there is a court evidence. I like to take interest in the court, and I like to challenge it. He has the moral duty. The Liberty Party does, and the CPP collectively does, to say to him, if you feel that the allegation brought against you or the ruling emanating from that committee, that ruling is not fair, it was concocted, like you said, why don't you go to court? You have ECOWAS court, you have other international jurisdiction, why don't you go there? Until he does that, he will continue to be in battle, all right, with this specter of allegation of criminality, fraud here and there, blah 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 blah.
So Mr. Kpadeh,
I can only say at this point, that would be my response for this at this point on that.
There are some people who are even going to the extent of calling him a criminal just because of the FIFA decision. According to him, in fact, the audit that he performed was not an audit because he was never asked anything. So now he has gone before the appeals court of the same FIFA, which is based in Switzerland. But there are people calling him a criminal. So are these reactions fair or unfair?
Well, there's a tendency in our country for us to respond to everything in a very knee-jerk way. It's also about the reaction could be political, from the both sides, from the CDC, even from within the CP, even from within his party. There is an issue within his party. People believe the convention process did not go very well. The party was established on the pedestal of transparency and accountability, led and mastered by Mr. Bronski. It should continue to clap on that line, clap on that record of transparency. He does not bring that character. I do not want to wallow in our raves and rant. I do not want to wallow in our claims and counterclaims and the sentiment. I want to proceed more on the legal side to respond to it. I can speak for anybody, and I can take responsibility for what they say, but I can take responsibility for what I say, and I will say to him and the Liberty Party, do all you can to clear your name and prove the FIFA wrong, and prove the FIFA ban and the FIFA fine wrong, and clear your name. It is important to do so. It is important to do so. Fight for you, for the repetition, fight for the repetition of the party, and even the repetition of the CPP by extension. Because let's be frank, how can you have this kind of allegation hovering over your head and then muster the courage to cast expression or to condemn Mr. Weah? That is known to be, running bad governance, misgovernance. You put yourself in a very difficult condition. So I think
So, Mr.
Yeah.
Kpadeh, is the coming of Mr. Bility into the chairmanship of the Liberty Party, first of all, does it improve the standing of the Liberty Party within the CPP, and also does it enhance or undermine the chances of the CPP come 2023?
Well, well, you see that now, so this will require in-depth analysis. I don't know, Mr.
And that's why I'm
Mr.
asking you,
Bility
because you are the guy who gave that analysis.
He's a business guy. I know him to be a business guy. He hasn't led a political party at this level. All right. And he comes now with this quote unquote repetition issue and stop inspector hovering over the head. I'm not too sure with all of the the imbroglio of unfolding. He's in a better frame of mind to even govern the party well. So there are a lot of things here at stake. I do not know his ability, his political ability to manage a political party quite effectively, especially in such given time, as we also into a very critical election come 2023. So I can speak to that definitively because I don't know. He has to now come and prove himself. I just said to you definitively who Burka is and believe in his ability to make a good president because I know him and I can speak, to that with authority because I have evidence with respect to his public service. I have no evidence about this man's service as a political leader. Yeah, I can speak to that. He will have to prove himself. So to say he brings any extra, incentives to the Liberty Party or extension of the CPP, I can say definitively, I think he's quite a rich man, so he might bring some money. Every party needs money. And two things matter in politics. You need the war chest and you need the propaganda machinery to make an effective campaign and build an effective political institution. The war chest is the money, all right? And the propaganda is the intellectual mechanic and machinery and that you need to drive your political institution towards the place you want to get it. So you see, so it's correct. So maybe from that perspective of the war chest, he comes calling. He comes calling, and maybe he brings some help and energy to the Liberty Party from a monetary perspective, from a leadership perspective, political perspective. I can say definitively because he has to be tried and tested. He has to prove himself. But I think before then, he has to deal. I don't want to join the chorus that casting away and use a sledgehammer on him and think he should crucify him. No,
but he has to clear it.
Yeah, he has to clear that name. I will challenge him to do that.
If it is not clear, if it is not clear, what will be the impact on the Liberty Party and the CPP?
If it's not clear, the Liberty Party remains a shattered party in terms of its repetition. All right, it remains a shaky party in terms of its revolution, its institutional movement and its political feature. Why do I say so?
And does that diminish the chances of the CPP in 2023? If this is not clear.
Well, again, I don't know. Would the CPP want to keep that union? Would the CPP want to remain in the union, maintain a union with a political party that is troubled and loaded and challenged by repetitional issue and repetitional challenges? It left with them. It's up to them. They have to make that determination. Do you want to go into a major campaign fracture? Because that will fracture your standing. That will undermine your standing in terms of your morality. What pedestal do you stand on? What pedestal do you stand on to talk serious politics against we are when you are infested, quote unquote infested? All right, out of perception, or facts. So it is important. It is imperative. It is a matter of accident that he see reason to do so and do so now. That he find way to clear his name. So I will not join the chorus to throw all the allegation and use a sledgehammer on him and crucify him. But I remain very, very cautiously, and fundamentally concerned about allegation as it relates to his reputation and character, and the need for him to address it if he wants to be a serious politician and serious political leader.
My last question on that is currently Mr. Abraham Darius DeLong, the senator, is the darling of the Liberty Party, and I said the darling of the opposition. And he has joined the choruses and said that Mr. Bilete is the Saul who has been transformed to Paul, so people should have that consideration, even though he reneged on that statement. But what does it say too about the darling of the opposition, the light, Mr. DeLong, when it comes to the association with Mr. Bilete, if, and I say that if and only if, these allegations continue to hover over Mr. Bilete? What does that say about Mr. DeLong?
Saying that the statement was not made to him. DeLong did not make that statement to address his situation. But if and DeLong said he did not, he said DeLong told him the statement was not made in any support of him, the Paul and Saul scenario. That's one hand. We need to understand what's the facts around that. On the second hand, if DeLong said that, is DeLong suggesting that the man was Paul and he committed the offenses as stated by the FIFA? Is he suggesting that the man committed offenses, and if the man committed offenses and has since transformed and changed and he's now a good man? If he said that, that doesn't in any way cleanse him politically. The repetition remains. So again, we need to understand all of that, because that would be alluding to the allegation of or the whole story going around with respect to the FIFA. FIFA. So if he's suggesting the man, we might want to find out that as well.
Mr. Bilete has financed Mr. DeLong's campaign twice. So
I don't. Okay, did he say that?
Yeah, that's what Mr. Bilete said, that he has financed his campaign. So with all these things, let's say this is true or false, and Mr. DeLong coming up with the Saul and Paul scenario, what do these things say about Mr. DeLong himself? Is he the light that most of the opposition claim he is?
Mr. DeLong is fully aware by his analogy of the Paul and Saul scenario or situation, that the man has committed these, nefarious and egregious offenses, and yet supporting him. If, and I want to say if, which is opposition, if he's aware that the man has committed these offenses and supporting him, then it brings into question his own mantra, light to darkness, or light in darkness. That's all I can say. It brings into question that if he is aware that the man has committed these offenses and supporting him. But like I said from the onset, I want to stick with the law. I want to make sure he has the opportunity in the court of competent jurisdiction of Christ's name, because my understanding is that the decision emanated from a committee, I think the FIFA Attribution Committee or something, whatever nomenclature they give it, to hear transgression. And that is not a court. People could have their own politics and sentiment. They are human beings. They are not beyond reproach, and they are not God. All right? They could make their own mistake. And FIFA, though it's a football institution, it is a political institution as well. A lot of politics happen.
And they've been involved in corruption too.
Of course. So the best
thing, let me just conclude on this. Let me conclude on this DeLong thing, because this is what he said. Going forward, we will be advised by the wise saying that knowledge is knowing what to say, but wisdom is knowing when to say it. Be assured that we shall remain courageously unbending in our fight. That sounds vague to me. But let's go to our next issue, which is the president's
statement. That statement you read doesn't explain anything to me.
Yeah, me neither.
It's vague. Very vague.
So ladies and gentlemen, this is we are in conversation with Mr. Robert Kpadeh. He's the leader of the One People Revolutionary Movement and publisher of the Independent Parrot newspaper that is very vociferous when it comes to the issues. I thought you were going to say sour. All right.
Well, if you say that, I will say sour.
Let's go to the President's State of the Union address and the CPP response. I watched both of them. Let's start with the President's Sona.
So let me say to you emphatically, quite succinctly, that the President's State of the Nation address, or the annual message, as it should be called, was impregnated with falsehoods, misinformation, factual errors, dishonesty. And if you give me some time, I will do the gadgets. I will do the gadgets in the state.
That sound like an opposition talking point, Mr. Kpadeh.
Well, anyway, but I want to present is facts. All right.
All right. Let's go.
So I like to deal with the facts. So what opposition now, I like to deal with the facts. Okay. So why do I say the speech was saturated with misinformation, disinformation, falsehoods, half-truths, and dishonesty? Let me begin with the stimulus package. Mr. William mustered the courage and the audacity to report to the Liberian people that as of the time he gave his annual address, all right, the government of Liberia through its partner, the WFP, has served 1 million people stimulus package. I mean, this is a lie from the belly of the devil. The entire stimulus package process has been saturated with fraud and discrepancy. All right, even within Monrovia, I can say to you, not good 5 districts, all right, have been served. Even places where they said there have been reports of theft, where the food did not land and stuff like that. In the first place, the onset, the entire process was not handled with transparency and accountability. We do not know the quality of food that they are giving the people. We do not know how much the food, how much money they spend to buy, say for instance, a bag of rice, the beans, the oil, no bedding process, nothing like that. They claim that they went into understanding with the WFP. We do not know why the WFP bought the food, but if the WFP did, as a UN institution, it was under obligation to deal in openness, fairness, and transparency. It did not do that. The OPRM wrote the WFP to say, look, WFP, you are the UN institution, yeah. You are the one over the years who have modeled transparency and accountability, who have held your member states to be accountable and resisted corruption. Can you make public the understanding or the agreement between you and the government? Because we see a lot of things. For instance, we see a government cost structure that says the government, cost aggregate that says the government will be spending 200,000 for warehouse. Just recently, it was reported that in Nima and in Maryland, when they took supply there were no warehouse, and they were trying to rent warehouses. The government claimed that it's spending 150,000 for GPS. GPS for what? Without explaining the cost structure to us. So it smells shabby, it smells shady, and it smells like a theft and a graft to defraud the country. So can you make public your understanding with this government? We know this government is a very nefarious, notorious government. It does not deal in transparency and accountability. So we want to be very careful, because at the end of the day, the 25 million, the 30 million that have been used for the entire stimulus package is a loan, all right, from the World Bank, and our country will pay back. Even though we should not be taking loan to buy rest or beans for our people in the 21st century, we should be taking money to invest, like Sarah Lune doing, to invest in capital development. Sarah Lune took 35 million from ECOWAS, and they're building a state-of-the-art ICT university in Konon, all right, that will train young Sarah Luneans, engineering, science, and stuff like that, supported by MIT. Now, nowhere we fight that 1 million people have been served. Nowhere we fight that 1 million people have been served. That's number one. Number two, the president, the government need a serious preparation where the government put $5 million for water to ensure that I bring that water in the face of the corona, and the curfew and stuff like that. Saying we have, stopped the people, it was shut down and stuff like that. How can the government argue against the fact that the water in Siwa, not only that water has not been reaching the different communities, but the employees at Water and Siwa have been on a very deadly strike. They've shut down. They're trying to even go and open sewage pipe and allow sewage to flow on the streets or spill on the streets of Monrovia. So how can you allow 5 million for water supply, but on the other hand, workers that should effectuate the supply, workers that should ensure that water reach out to people are on the street, all right, protesting. issuing protestation because they didn't get paid. We've gone around the communities since they announced this thing. That, oh, we'll get water here, this, that. You go to community, Bushville Island, you go to very community, they tell you water doesn't come. When water comes, it comes for 1 hour, it's dirty and stuff like that. All right? So we get all that story because we're not just sitting. When they say this, we go after to verify, all right, and corroborate because we want to validate the information.
Yeah.
And we don't see water summit. But more so is the fact that we see employees of water receiver on the street protesting. And Mr. Weir comes and tells me we get $5 million to ensure water reach to the place. He said there were Basso and Magibi. We call our folks in Basso and Magibi. Has this government been supplying water? They say, but right in Montreal there, you're not getting water effectively. The workers, the employee of water and sewer are on strike for salary. So that Basso and Magibi, you in the capital say you're not getting water, we'll get water. So it says to you how dishonest the president is. Let's move to the issue of LEC. Let's move to the issue of LEC. All we can say with the issue of LEC is for the legislature, because they approved the stimulus package, to set up a committee to investigate. LEC have been saturated with corruption. You know, the LEC guy, Joseph Howard, have been brought down, been wrapped in allegations of corruption. Currently, doesn't even go to work. You know, so there have been a lot of discrepancy, TV and stuff associated with the entire distribution process and stuff like that. They bring current for 2 hours, current gone. So when someone tell me I spent $5-10 million to give the legislature as a way of lending cushion to the people, I am shocked, and I find it difficult to agree. All right. So we need the legislature to look into those things and to be able to validate the information. But we can say to you, I mean, without any doubt or any ounce of modicum of stupor, that this is falsehood. All right. This is falsehood. Now, into the speech, the president was reporting to the nation. When presidents are reporting to the nation, you in the States, when the American president reported, they say how many jobs. That speech did not say how many jobs were created. Okay, under the period being reported for, or under review, the period under review. But we are failed to state in your state of the nation address how many jobs have been created to address poverty and to address the issue of income. All right. And to ensure that people have spending power. You must be able to give them jobs. Since this man came to power, he has yet to say, 3 years on, how much job has his government created. This is critical. They promise to create thousands of jobs. They're yet to tell us. This is his fourth State of the Nation address or annual address. He hasn't said how many jobs have been created. In this current one, he magnified again to state. For us to understand governance and the state of our economy, we got to see certain basic things obtaining, all right? Basic determinant. Instead of, we have to see foreign direct investments, we have to see job creation, we have to see the bank being healthy, we got to see the economy in full cycle and in full effect. That is not obtaining yet. So how can you tell me you've given a serious address and failed to talk about job? Job was not mentioned. Let's move to the issue of foreign direct investment. He also failed to say to us, okay, how many foreign direct investment, which is critical to the economy, all right? Our economy can only grow and blossom, okay, and build the GDP when we create the ambience and be able to do what? Attract foreign direct investment. Because what foreign direct investments do in effect, they pay large tax, government generate revenue, they create jobs, all right, for our people. And when they create jobs for our people get income. When our people get income, they have money to spend. And then at that point, the issue of the bread and butter issue is being addressed. That is not the case. Liberian people do not have jobs. They are hungry, all right? So you cannot give them jobs because you lack the ability to attract foreign direct investment yet. Because of what? Misgovernance. Let's move on to agriculture. Since he appointed a new agriculture minister, she been in the job a year and a half. Millions have gone to agriculture. Millions have gone to agriculture. From the international donors and even from government. Massive support going to agriculture. Lately, we've been getting reports of corruption, how she's bringing nepotism and favoritism in the place and stuff like that. All right? We've been seeing it in other papers. But we expected Mr. Weir to say to us how many adults Metric tons of edibles, metric tons of wraps, metric tons of cassava have been produced during the year under review. This is what we want to know. When Nana Ado gave his address, he said how many food have been produced the year over the year. Now, what is Mr. We are saying? We are pumping money into the agriculture ministry. Donors are pumping money into the agriculture ministry, but yet we do not know what is coming from there. What's the yields? They do not tell us how are they incentivizing farmers, local farmers, to produce food. When you go to our market, vegetables are so expensive. What does it tell you? It tells you we're not doing good in agriculture. What would we be importing from Guinea after millions have been pumped or invested into the Ministry of Agriculture? It says two things: corruption and ineptitude. All right, people are not qualified to man the ministry, and they are there. He failed to report on that. Agriculture is very essential. Going forward, the Bureau has to make agriculture the economic frontier, and we are well placed. We have arable soil. We have very terrific rainfall. All right. We have good habitation here. Labor is cheap. It's about time we begin to put emphasis on agriculture. To do that,
thank you.
Begins with transparency and accountability and the people ability to do a good job. But that is not the case. He failed. All he did in his speech was to emphasize his commitment to agriculture. But you always be emphasizing your commitment to agriculture. You have pointed out agriculture needs to do your last State of the Nation address and emphasize big support and shopping. We are tired of emphasizing support. We want to get we want products. We want deliverables. That is not the case. He failed at that. Those are the fundamental issues and things that his speech must capture. It did not capture it. That's how I say the speech was impregnated with flaws, because it failed to deal with the fundamental issues, job creation, agriculture, and stuff like that. I'm not done yet.
I want us to conclude on that, but there's one thing I want you to mention before we conclude on that and go to the CPP response. This is what the president said to sum up the state of the nation. He said, although the state of our economy is challenged, the fundamentals remain sound and strong. The soundness and strength is based on the very hard work we have delivered over the past 18 months. You studied economics. Are the fundamentals sound and strong?
No, they are not. And I just argued that very, very succinctly. And I argued that with facts. I said to you, our banking system is in the black hole. We do not even have money in the bank. All right. I just said to you, we are not attracting foreign direct investment in the country, which is very critical to the survival. All right, and the resilience of our economy. That is not in full swing. We are not creating jobs. We're not doing good at agriculture. So the fundamentals are not into place. And when they are not into place, we cannot say the state of the nation is viable. The state of the nation is weak. It's not viable because the fundamentals are lacking. All right, and there is misgovernance, and so Mr. Weah was speaking politics. He was not speaking facts. He was not speaking to the nation. Okay, on account of facts, he was speaking politics to feed his base red meat after being bruised and battered in the senatorial election. He must come to say something to stir up his base. But I think he did not do that very effectively, because you can't run a country or a nation on the basis of subterfuge. All right, or mendacity, meaning lies. You have to say the truth. And don't forget, we are here, we are experts. You can come and then throw gibberish out and think we'll accept it. We will go into the speech, we'll analyze the speech, we'll do that with no ounce of sentiments and malice. We do that in the business of the fast. Like I'm taking it on here. I'm not insulting him. I'm taking him on the fast. I'm taking on the fast. Where the speech falls short of doing. And the funny matters, that should have been indicated. He talks about a lot of streams of aid that came. Some of the aid that he needed, there were no sources. That is also another flaw. When you say you receive 300 million or this million, you must state where the money came from and for what. When you don't do that, you leave room for thievery and stuff like that. All right? So we have to argue that the state of the nation is viable. All right? And just as he was saying that, the MCC, the Millennium Challenge, all right, that is this developmental aid, Phil Weah. They say the Weah government could not meet the minimum benchmark. All right? Law, health, education, all those things, they fail at that. So Liberia lost the opportunity of netting 275 million that could have been used to expand electric grid, used to expand rural in the southeast, where when there's rainfall, the people cannot live as they should live, which is wrong. All right? And very unfair. We cannot do that. It's reprehensible that one group of the country, one geographical space of the country cannot survive when there's rainfall. We could use portion of that money to do the roads there. We could use portion of that money to expand education and improve our curriculum. We could use portion of that money to strengthen and sophisticate JFK, the referral hospital. We lost it because what? Misgovernance. So how come we are acting against that? Is this war against what? The MCC, the American people, who say you fail. You fail. Misgovernance. Because you fail, we're not going to give you the money. Sierra Leone won. Sierra Leone won. Why did they win? Because they focus on building a scorecard and doing those things, the benchmarks. All right, that will give them the relevant score, on which they can get a grant. Liberia failed that grant. But that's not to say the state of the nation is not vibrant. I mean, we are in a complete quagmire.
Thank you. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the state of the nation later on in the segment when we talk about the printing of the new money. But let's go to the CPP response. Did they do what was expected, or they needed to do more, or where did it fall short as well?
Well, look, they maybe I think they said that the CPP going forward need to be more vibrant, more aggressive in responding to these things. Because look, we cannot sit here and see a president go to give a state of the nation address and misinform the world. He does so with pleasure. All right. It says to you, this man cognition. All right. He can't be a serious president. All right. When he fail the country and go and report on something else. When the opposition is responding, they should respond with fire and fury. All right. They should respond with fire and fury. They should now begin. They should start even acting. We have to move now from this point of just talking and acting. Talking and acting. And that's why I celebrated, it wasn't a student that besieged the LSCC the other day, because you cannot continue to tolerate a man with such rotten character in Napodiki presiding over a transparency institution. They muster the courage, the UL student muster the courage, all right, to go there and say you must step down. All right? You are not qualified, you're not fit to preside. You can't be this thing with corruption. They buy association and dismember you, and then you preside over a transparency institution. This should be the job of the opposition. We should start going out and peacefully acting against these things. Our lawmakers in the legislature should be more serious, more vibrant, more aggressive to ensure that the state is governed properly. All right? We can say Kumaya to a president that failed us. We can get white roses to a president or a government that failed us. We should stand up to them and do that with fire and fury. So I'm tired with this just responding to report. You're just mere literature. So after responding, what next? What next? We need to start instituting radical action. We need to start like serious protests. All right? Like serious protests. We need to start saying to the international community, you can't continue to fund this government when all the government does is to defraud the people. All the government does is to steal from the people. The government cannot account for money. The Corps came here, and we'll talk about that when we're talking about the Bendo. And I resist the printing of Bendos. The Corps report is very unequivocal. It said to you, it recommended to you, there's a need for deeper investigation into how the 16 billion was infused, into how the 25 million transaction took place. All of those things, no investigation has been done. The opposition community must begin to engage the international community on these fronts. And then in the face of that, no investigation. We don't know what happened to the 16 billion, how the money vanished, and then you have some, people come here saying there's including people from the court, 25 million. We saw what happened to the mop up money. There's someone come and tell the people do not have the credibility and the reputation to be allowed to print 27 billion dollars. On what basis? All right? Do we understand the fate of our economy? All right, our GDP and the size of the economy should commensurate with the money we print. Where are we, by the way? Firstly, to manage the economy, the management of the economy begins with fiscal discipline. This government has not demonstrated fiscal discipline. There are a lot of thievery, there are a lot of corruption. The core report, all right? They used to pay a lot of money. Those people came here and conducted. The legislature should now look into that report to say, look, the 16 billion was beclouded with discrepancy, and the professional people telling you it needs deeper investigation. The 25 billion has a lot of unanswered questions. It needs deeper explanation. And then you want to sweep all of down the carpet and come to print 27 billion? What happened to the 4 billion that were printed recently? You call the central bank governor, he went there, he fumbled. He could not speak like any serious financial expert or monetary expert. The language he speaks, far from monetary language, all right? So he doesn't give you any clear perspective into the entire fate of our economy from the monetary side. And you say he may go print extra 27 billion on what basis?
So, Mr. Kpadeh,
Yes,
what else can be done to address the liquidity issue that the president or the government is trying to solve by the printing of new $27 billion banknotes?
You must investigate the issues that have not been investigated. You must execute the recommendation by Crow that you look into how they manage the 16 billion, all right, and the 25 million, and the recent 4 billion. We need to understand that, all right? We need to understand that, and the opposition must show that those things are understood. We cannot leave those hanging, those unanswered questions, and going to print the money. We must institute fiscal discipline. Look, managing an economy and building an economy begins with fiscal discipline. How do you keep throwing money to people when they can't account for it? What needs to be done? We must understand how the 16 billion issue went. All right? We must understand how the 25 million went. Okay, there are a lot of unanswered questions about on the issue of property and transparency. Those things must be answered. Rather than giving somebody cash blanche like we did with the similar package. I wrote the legislature, I said to the legislature, these people have not demonstrated any credibility over the last year. You don't want to give them 25 million for stimulus package, all right? The money could be stolen. The legislature did not listen. They gave the poor cash blanche, gave them the money. Here we are today. Stimulus package in limbo. Here we are today. And then you come tell me you want to print 27 billion because you want to address the issue, or you want to address the liquidity issue. Yes, we want to address the liquidity issue, but we have to do that in a very unique way. We got to do that in a very scrupulous. Let me use the word scrupulous. We must do it in a very scrupulous manner. All right, by addressing all the other issues, pending issues before jumping into stuff. Again, I want to see the opposition. I want to see the opposition leaders going to Capitol building together and hold a serious meeting. I want to see them raise the banner and ask those questions. So the issue about them.
Some technical difficulty there from our guest, Mr. Robert Monsieur Kpadeh, talking about the printing of the 27 billion. All right, you are back. So Mr. Kpadeh, my question here is, you talking about the protest. That's exactly what Mr. Henry Pedro Costa was doing. Now he's not on the scene, so you don't see the protest. Do you miss him?
Well, look, I miss Liberia. I mean, look, people who stand for justice, people who stand for the truth, people who muster the courage for governance, good governance. I think we should do that. We should do that on the basis of not just, of making trouble. Look, this is our moral duty to demand good governance. All right? Even if it means for the power of our level to do it. Liberia is 103 years old. It's a rich country in natural resources, but it's a poor country economically. The people are that poor. Why are they poor? Because of misrule, because of misgovernance, because of corruption. We keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. But so we are promised change. What is the change? Since he came to power, his government has been a monument of scandals. Passport scandal, the other scandal, that other scandal, scandal upon scandals. A monument of scandals. So what's the change? Has he infatuated Was it change? No change. So we must be radical in a positive sense. And leaders who are in the political party to muster the courage to do that. So whoever did that, Henry did that, and stuff like that. I was not in the country for the June 16 stuff, but I worked with I worked with the rest of the guys. It went well. I'm not too sure it ended well, but that was a good story. All right. When we do that, we do not do that because we want to throw our country into crisis. But we must call attention, government attention, international community attention. We need stronger action. Our opposition leaders must begin to jump on the plane and go to Washington and go to ECOWAS and go to AU and have serious conversation. Must go to Geneva, have serious conversation. Must go to the donors, to the World Bank and IMF, and have serious conversation. If these people are not responsible, they come to defraud the country and subjugate our people to perpetual poverty, then they're not worth doing business with. We should say we do not do that because we don't like our country, but we want things to go properly. So we must run the country properly. This is not Mr. We have freedom. This is the Republic of Liberia, owned by the Liberian people. He's only privileged to be president, and no power is permanent. All right, his days are numbering out, and he will go. What will be her legacy? Thievery, robbery, and all sorts of misdemeanors and excesses and anomalies and abnormalities. Is that what you want? So we are not here to celebrate that. And we're not here, we don't have no malice against anybody. But we love our country and we want our country governed well.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's take some of our comments from our viewers, ladies and gentlemen. This is Q&A with Mr. Robert Monsieur Kpadeh. He's the leader of the One People Revolutionary Movement and publisher of the Parrot newspaper. He is giving his perspective, that is an opposition or outside government perspective on the state of the nation address or on national issues in our country. The first comment here comes from a family member. Say, hi, cause long time, bro. I hope all is well. That's from Marie Kpadeh. And I will read a few of these comments and again give you a chance to respond. This one from Leo Nupulu Johnson say, what is the governance structure of the OPRM? What is the fiscal year of the group, and what kind of reporting structure do you have in place? This one from John Mason. Liberians have been behaving as if COVID-19 does not exist in the country. There are no mandatory requirements for the wearing of face masks. That's what when we're talking about the counter mig and if protocols were being put into place. He also writes, we should develop an all-star game that brings people from different countries together. This is how you remove politics. My nephew, Stanley Thomas Sewon, is watching from Texas. And when you talk about Boakai, John Mason said, Boakai's time is over. It is time for new leadership. I say this with due respect. Dave Jah, how much fun of his own can he infuse into the party? I think he was asking for Musa Bilete. I don't think Liberian voters are deeply concerned about morality and integrity in their relationship to political leadership. Let me end there and let's get your feedback on a few of those comments, starting with your movement. Oh.
The movement. So the movement structure is getting feedback. Okay. So the movement is structured on the county by county level, and then the central office is here. The county leadership is given the latitude and the boundary to operate with independence, and we provide them overall leadership. It's just we just a year old. How we plan our program? We plan our program quarterly. We say, well, every 4 years, every 4 months, we will visit this county, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. We'll visit universities, we'll visit school, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. And that's how we do it. So currently we are doing stock now, all right? And there's a planned meeting to come together. By the way, just before I came here, I got a call from the Nima chapter. They got it all coming down. So we're planning to sit down and do a review of the year, even though we were challenged with it by the COVID stuff that really, actually halted our move. We're just 1 year old. But whatever we achieve.
Just one second. So what's your fiscal year? It runs from when to when? Your fiscal year.
Fiscal year from January to December.
Okay.
Yeah, 12 months. We went from January to December. I mean, we don't have special time to say, well, we're not a business institution. We are advocacy and revolutionary institution. So we find time all around the year to do our work, and we'll be doing that. Over the years, we've done a lot of things, like I said. And that will be embedded in our yearly report when we look, and then our own yearly assessment, our challenges, our gains, and stuff like that. Okay, this is an institution by and large funded by members. All right, we do not have money, but we have conviction to do what we do, and we're doing that. So that's how we operate. And other things have been realized with respect to going to the university campus. Mentoring young people. We're mentoring close to 1,000 people across Maserado, Maserado, Nima, and Bond, mentoring them, okay, about how they should conduct themselves, how they should proceed in politics, building the skills and talents in them, who they can become if they did X, Y, Z. I mean, that's the kind of thing we do. We're talking to women, we're talking to private boy and chiefs to say, look,
let me bring in a few more comments. This one from Sam Wallow. How can the opposition criticize this current administration when the opposition perform no differently? And many can argue even worse on corruption during its tenure. Romeo, Sekpa Romeo, another Ellen Johnson boy here making noise. He's not a boy, Sekpa. This a man. And Sam Waller is saying your proposed solution is for more protests. Also, Simeon Hammer, is the liquidity problem a national security issue? If so, what can be done now to remedy the situation? Let me give you a chance to respond quickly.
Yeah, the liquidity problem is a security issue. Economic issue is a security issue. When the economy fumble or the economy slump, it becomes a national security issue. When people go to the bank and they save their money to the bank and they can't get the money, it's serious. And that's why I said the way to begin addressing it is to begin to institute reforms that put emphasis on fiscal discipline. We have to do away with corruption. We have to do away with graft. We got to begin to build an economy that thrives on accountability. All right. So to have the bank healthy, to have the bank fully liquidated and the liquidation managed, it begins with discipline. And that discipline should be transparency and accountability. Until we build an economy, all right, that is foundation on accountability, I'm sorry, we're not going anywhere. So yes, liquidity issue, lack of money in the bank is a security issue, all right? People do not have money to spend. They get the money in the bank. It's a security issue.
Right.
The confidence in the bank has dwindled. It's a security issue. Yes,
the last part of the question say, if so, how can this be resolved?
And I just said, how can it be resolved? First, I just said to you, take for instance, the Crow report. The Crow report recommended XYZ. We should do what the Crow report said because that's the right thing to do. It says, look, you need to look into the 16 billion issue. There seems to be some fraud, discrepancy here and there, but let allow independent, deeper investigation. Why don't you commission the GSC and other people to look into that?
Beyond that,
we need to look into the 5 million issue. We need to begin to address those. When we address those, we know what are the faults. Then we can be able to remedy solutions.
Beyond that, what else do you do? Beyond the Crow report and putting into place those things that the Crow report advises. So right now, what do you do? It's bleeding. You want to stop the bleeding.
Well, you can't put a fire with fire. Because you bleed, it doesn't mean you can go and bring excess money when there's no methodology, transparency methodology, and mechanism in place to protect it. Because the system we run, you can even bring 100 billion and bring it here, it will disappear. It will be thinner out because you're like putting water in sifter. What happened to that? The water thinner out. All right. So until we put in place a system, all right, that is reliant on this mentality and practice of accountability within the economy. I'm sorry. We can't go nowhere. That's why the opposition should press on this investigation, because this investigation will expose, all right, theft, thievery, inconsistency, discrepancy, unethical issues. So when you know those things, then you can find solution to address it. Penalize people that need to be. Because when you penalize people who suffer, all right, you send a clear message to those who want to suffer or will be a person that want to suffer. But if it's just left like that in limbo, and people go scot free and they get account, you can't build a country like that. You can build a country on thievery, on mendacity, and subterfuge. So it's not about going to print the money, it's about addressing this issue. We have a report that recommends XYZ. I would think the way forward is to firstly deal with that. Let us understand gaps. Let us know who stole money. Let us know what fraud was committed. How people defrauded the system. You all know what we had loopholes. Then we begin to derive our solutions to fix them. And when we fix them and put in place framework and discipline, then we can say, well, now we have a system in place that you can trust. Okay, the economy is about trust. It's about discipline. We have to do that. All right, we have to do that. Someone talking about breakout time is over for America. Why? He didn't say why. How is the time over? How is breakout time over? You just elected Biden, who is older than breakout. Why you didn't say Biden? A lot of you there voted for Biden. Why you didn't say Biden time was over? What did breakout do? The issue is not about age. The issue is about the quality the man brings to the national table, or whoever brings to the table. The quality of our discussion around politics should go beyond pettiness. This nonsense issue. Let's look at the quality of people. Let's look at the profile. Let's look at the history. Let's look at the pedigree, the ability to make difference, the ability to perform. Those are the things we're looking at. You have a man who is young, 54 years old. Governance in this country is dismal. Governance in this country is a shame. Governance in this country is a disgrace. He's a young man, though. So that defeats the argument about breakout time over. You didn't tell me how it's time over. All right? You should be discussing breakout repetition. You should be discussing his ability, because you just voted for Biden. You voted for Biden based on qualities. Not about his age, what he owed or not. It was based on his qualities, his public service record that is credible and surreal, and based on that you could trust him, and you said Trump would not qualify. So what did Burger do? Burger got close to 40 years of profound, credible, unique, enviable, decorating, revered public service record.
Thank you. Jawon Jai is saying, with all these protests around the nation, what are the achievement or the end result? Sam Wallow, the opposition has more legislators in the House and Senate than the ruling party. Why aren't the opposition parties and its combined legislative bloc not putting forward legislation to move the agenda forward instead of calling for protest? George Preston Lobo, my big brother Robert Monsieur Kpadeh have deliberated very well. This government came to power through lies and is now having difficulties governing with lies for 6 years. Sam Lang, watching you from South Dakota State of the Nation address was very important. It is time for us to work together. Liberians, let's start blackmailing the government. The last question from Philip Ballard. Sam Wallow, did you ask these same questions when women undergarments and caskets were paraded in the streets of Monrovia in the name of fighting corruption by the then opposition headed by Akaros Gray? Your thought, Mr. Kpadeh?
Person who talked about the opposition in the legislature, and I said that earlier. All right, he could have echoed it more than I did. I was very unequivocal. I do not celebrate the opposition in the legislature being weak, timid, and just mad, wallowing in cowardice. I think the nation shout louder, and these people should get this perspective when I talk about protest. Protest not just only about just running around and destroying things, this, that, other. Protest is civil, all right? It's civil, and I didn't only talk about protest. I talk about action beyond protest. I said opposition leaders should begin to get in the play, engage the international fronts. Did I not say that? It's not just only protest. I said, even the lawmakers can protest by walking out of session when an agenda that has been discussed, all right, does not put emphasis on the people or fail to encapsulate the issues that matter about opposition lawmakers should walk out. That's a protest. I'm not there talking about running on the street tomorrow or standing somewhere causing problem and throwing something. No, 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 no. Protest is not negative. So there's so many ways to protest. If the Senate refuses to discuss issues that are germane to the country, opposition lawmakers put it on the agenda and the protest to discuss it. They should walk out and ensure that there is not a quorum. That's protest. All right. When you do that, you send a strong message to the Liberian people and the international partner. The House is not sitting, the Senate is not sitting because of XYZ. That's the kind of protest I'm talking about. When the agenda comes and the things that are there, all right, are not good, don't discuss it. Walk away. That's protest. So I'm not there talking about that regular protest that I'll be talking here. I also say go beyond that. Our leaders in the opposition should go beyond that. Begin to engage the World Bank. Begin to engage the IMF. Begin to engage the UN. Begin to engage bilateral partners, multilateral partners, corporations. Begin to engage them and talk about Liberia and talk about the issues because they are doing business. They are pumping money in the country and stuff like that. You need a kind of engagement. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. You need a kind of engagement. You see? So you can sit there apparently, fold your hands and be responding to speech and writing mail literature. You can do other things. Begin to move around. Begin to go to Nigeria. Begin to go to South Africa. Begin to go to the AU. Begin to go to the ECOWAS. Begin to go to Manila Summit. Ensure a seat there and make a case. Write the UN and make a case. Write the World Bank, make a case. Write the multilateral partners and make a case. Go to EU Brussels and make a case that we got issue. You are funding this. Yeah, the results. They're not working. You know? I mean, so that's what you should do. That's the work of the opposition. Now you can say, yeah, you get on joy every talk or you get on every talk. No. We want genuine action. And that's why I talk about protest. That's the kind of protest I'm talking about. I'm not talking about three boys jumping the street and running around the place. No, no, no. I'm talking about real quality protest. Legislators, our lawmakers should protest when their agenda being discussed do not represent the aspiration of the people and the interest of the people. Walk out of there and make sure such is not held. Bomb the table. Stand up on the table. That's what the lawmakers do in South Africa. That's what they do in Ghana and other places. Because why? They want the issues of the people to be discussed. That's the kind of protest I'm talking about. Okay? So the person who asked me the question about protest and this and other, it's not the regular protest you're doing. I'm talking about more effective, more organized, and more pointing, you know, and scathing action to be taken and stuff like that. We should not denigrate protest, and kind of give a different interpretation. No, 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 no. I'm speaking from a more profound, fundamental perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Robert Monsieur Kpadeh. That's a beautiful way to end it. Thank you so much for your time. I know we've covered a lot of issues, and God's willing, we're going to have you every other Sunday at 2 p.m. to have this kind of discussion on national issues. Because what affects our country affects all of us. And so we need a voice from every angle to be able to solve national issues. Again, it's better for us to talk than to fight. So let me get your closing comments. You have 3 minutes.
I think we should keep talking. And we will never stop talking. We should do that for the sake of this country. At least we've decided to talk and disagree. I mean, this is the fundamental practice in democracy, for us to agree and disagree. And we disagree on the basis of the facts, not on the basis of malice and hatred or whatever. I do not hate we are. I have no malice for we are. I'm on a moral obligation, ethical obligation, and to the bound to call we are to order. When we are fair, I will state how you fair. I will call you out. I will do that with fire and fury. That's my style, whether you like it or not. So we are governed over the country. He's on an obligation to account for the resources he preside over. When he misgoverns the country, we are on an obligation because we own the country together and we share the duty for the fall march of our country. So we should listen. Don't forget, we speak not as ignorances, ignoramuses. We speak as professionals. So when we speak, we know it. All right? There's nothing wrong with Mr. Weir and his bunch listening to our recommendations. I have written several times. If you went on my wall, you will see several things. I'm not a guy who just talk. If I do more writing than talking. If you went on the OPR involved, you will see some of the issues. Even we criticize, we provide suggestions and recommendations. When I go on the local radio, yeah, I give a lot of recommendations. I do not criticize. When I write, I educate. I do that. I'm a teacher. I do that. People are hell-bent and arrogant, all right? And they don't want to listen. And you can't run a country like that. You have to listen. Mr. Weah has to govern this country on account of professionalism. To do that, he has to attract and pay for the services of quality people to run a quality service. Or else, I'm sorry, the just ended result, senatorial result could not have been clearer. Mr. Weah and his CDC were bruised and battered to the core. This is because the people listening to which, and let me answer, someone said, Liberian voters do not care about morality. You lie. You lie. You saw what Liberians did in the senatorial election. They are concerned. They are listening to us. We are echoing the message. They are listening to our advocacy for the quality of leaders that should be in government. They are listening to the concerns that we espouse on a daily basis. They are reading the literature that we write about the quality of governance, about reporting, about economy. They listen to this interview. They will listen all throughout the week. And the argument I'm making here, and they will decipher and discern the reason. They're not going to say because Kpadeh oppose we are. They look at the logic that I espouse. And who to our people? You cannot give we are additional power when the one you give it, he can manage it and he failing. What our people did, they went to the polls and overwhelmingly rejected citizen candidates. And you say our people do not listen and they don't care about morality, they do care for morality. Do not insult our people. Our people are advancing, democracy is maturing. Liberian people will do everything they show and have the best quality of leaders to lead them. I want to say thank you, Dennis, for having me. I can put a price on this. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to Sunday for us to talk more. And to all the guys who listen to us, I salute you. We disagree sometimes, but it's good for our democracy. Let's do so for the good of our country. I bless all of you, and I just say, let's hope that we all together can build a new Liberia that show respect to all its citizens and put socio-economic dignity on all our people and govern with a sense of property, transparency, and accountability. It is not Uhuru yet until it is Uhuru. Do you know what that means?
Freedom.
Is my okay, great. So it is not freedom yet. It will become freedom when there is economic justice, when there is when social transformation, when we have a country that put emphasis on all, when we have a country that gives all the opportunity to go to school and have quality education, irrespective of the pocket size of their parents. When we have the opportunity where everybody can go to JFK and get better treatment, JFK can treat everybody, and even ministers can go there. Okay? When we begin to put emphasis on our teachers and pay them well in our country, all right? It is a complete travesty. We pay the teachers $100, $150, and pay politicians $10,000, $15,000. Our police officer demobilized, demoralized. They are indicted in the street. This is shameful. So I can only say, let's pray until and fight until it is Uhuru. So I salute you, Dennis, and thank you for having me. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Robert Monsieur Kpadeh, for honoring our invitation to come. We're going to do this every other Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. local time in Liberia. Right at 6 o'clock, we're going to be hosting Dr. Samuel Y. Johnson, who's going to be discussing economic development, and it's right here on Focus on Liberia. Until then, from all of us here, my name is Dennis Jack, closing on behalf of us at Focus on Liberia, and we are ending with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Good day.
We are Liberians.